Bum, bum, ba-da-da.
I thought we were getting trumpets this morning. I thought we were getting trumpets with Edwin Diaz this morning. Welcome to a Friday morning edition.
A little bit of Oral Hershiser, a little bit of Anthony Machado. We got a lot of stuff going on today.
Welcome to the Friday edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. I'm Marcas with Greg Bergman, and joined by Anthony Machado, our pal. You can certainly find him a couple places, including with our other pal, Jeff Spiegel, over at Dodger Blue 1958, the Dodger Heads group over there. Gentlemen, how are we feeling this morning? We got to get Anthony on screen. Tim, can we pop Anthony up there this morning?
He's probably checking some of the boxes. He'll get there in a second, but I appreciate it. This is I take full credit for this, or not. I take full blame for this. I'm normally in studio, and because I'm going out to Tejon today, for Hard Rock Casino and hanging out with Mason in Ireland, I worked from home and didn't tell Tim. I did tell Carlo, but I didn't tell Tim, and now everything's out of whack. So I'll take the blame. It's my fault. What's up, Anthony?
That is a more sincere apology than what we got from Evan Drellich.
Oh, 5 days. We got him 5 days.
Sorry, you know what? And I told myself this morning that we weren't going to do that, and
I'm fine with it.
I just walked right into it. Oh,
perfect setup. It was the perfect setup.
Oh, it was. It was so easy. We got plenty of stuff to talk about, but first we gotta do some business here, and that's to let you know that the Blue Review is powered by LAX. We're taking off. Learn more about all the incredible changes happening now at LAX by going to lawa.org/ESPN. All right, Anthony, we haven't talked to you since last week. Since then, things have happened. The WBC Team USA fell on his face. That is what it is. But more importantly, for our purposes, Shohei Ohtani came out and looked fantastic. What were your thoughts seeing Shohei in his spring pitching debut?
Yeah, man, I was a little surprised at how sharp he looked. I thought there'd be a little bit more of a ramp up for him to get to this point. He had some command issues a little bit later in the outing, but I thought overall, like for where we're at in spring training, I thought he looked really, really solid. The sweeper looked good. The curveball looked just devastating. And the fastball touched 100 a couple of times. Yeah, I mean, I think he threw 61 pitches. Usually you go up, by increments of 15 there. So you figure, all right, about 75 the next time out for the Freeway Series. And then by the time he makes his regular season debut, 90 pitches is right where you'd want to be. So he's on schedule. Look, the Dodgers have had, essentially a year to plan for this, knowing that he'd be healthy enough to pitch, knowing that he was going to play in the WBC, and knowing most likely he was not going to be allowed to pitch for Team Japan, that he would just be a hitter. So to build out his program, knowing that he was going to be away from the team, was in the works for a long time. So they may have kind of couched it with like, we'll see how he gets his work in. And the Dodgers always leave that wiggle room for themselves. But they knew exactly where he'd be.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this yesterday too, Anthony, is that, I think we came into the season thinking, okay, well, they're going to build him up. Maybe the first couple of times he gets 3-4 innings, and then you'll patch it together with the rest of the bullpen. I mean, is there a chance that we could get 5 innings out of Shohei in his first start when he faces the Guardians with game probably 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 probably of the season, I guess?
I think so. I think the expectation, he's built up to somewhere between 80 and 90 pitches. And yeah, if he's efficient enough, that he can absolutely get through 5. 6 would be stretching it, I would think, at that pitch count, especially this early in the season. But if they're comfortable with basically taking the training wheels off and treating him like a normal, healthy pitcher, absolutely.
The idea of a Dodger starter going 6 innings, that makes my brain itch. I can't even imagine that.
It's not October yet, right?
Right, exactly. Greg, you said this something yesterday. Speaking of Dodger starters, Yamamoto's new training regimen. Would you like to explain to people what
this training
to train now?
It's not Yamamoto's new training regimen. And how did I miss it? Did you see it? Did I I know Machado saw it. He said that I was being slow.
No, the only thing I saw with Mookie Betts and training and Yamamoto was that I guess he's throwing a javelin now too. I think I saw something about that.
So Mookie Betts is doing some things for his core too. So he's having Yamamoto Sensei sit on top of his on his shoulders, and he like kind of just walks around with them on his shoulders and just getting like having, so he helps with his core. And then he's also throwing the javelin too, along with Yamamoto, which is pretty cool. I mean, I can see how it can help if you are at anything sport you use, you need to get that twist in your hips and in your core. And that, if it works for Yamamoto and if it helps Mookie Betts become the guy that he was before this, with that top 5 player, an MVP candidate, and if that helps him get back to that level of since he wasn't last year, do all the little things you can. Listen to Yamamoto. That's great.
So that being said, Greg, I mean, your expectations for Mookie Betts, obviously last year was not his best year. At one point, he basically just said, F it. And that seemed to sort of help him out. But your expectations, do we see something closer to the MVP level? There it is. There's the video.
How cool is that?
That is kind of cool, actually. He looks like a proud. Awesome. He looks like a dad walking around Disneyland. That's what he looks like. But your expectations for Mookie coming into the season, do we get something closer to the MVP level Mookie Betts this year?
So I'm very much hoping. I'm Marcas Grant today, by the way. So I'm very much hoping that. Yes, we get that MVP level. I mean, I don't want to expect it. The guy's still, I think he's 33 years old now, somewhere right around there, that he gets back to where he was. But look, if he's anywhere close to where he was 2 years ago or a few years ago, that's amazing. I think that he can get back to it. If there's anybody, he's such a great athlete that he can get back to that level. It just, we have to wait and see if it's going to do. I have high hopes for it. I don't want to predict that all of a sudden, he's going to be hitting 35 home runs, putting up 100 RBIs and scoring, 100 runs. He, in that 3 spot, he just has to drive in runs. He has to get guys moved around and keep the line moving over to like Freddie and Will Smith and those types of guys. It's an important role because when you have Shohei and you have Kyle Tucker in front of you, you got to produce. And so I believe in Mookie. I believe he's going to produce. But, last year was hopefully not the norm and just an off year while he was trying to learn short.
I feel like it was trying to learn short. I feel like it was him getting sick at the start of the year. He took some time off for some personal things during the season. There was a lot going on with Mookie Betts that wasn't strictly baseball. And I sort of believe that had a big impact on kind of his season. But I mean, that being said, Anthony, look, this lineup with this talent, if you're Dave Roberts, you can almost sort of pull names out of a hat and, build your batting order most days and it's going to be fine. But how did you feel? What were your thoughts when you heard that, hey, Mookie's going to be the number 3 hitter this year?
Yeah, I thought I was a little surprised just because I thought they might try to, because they are afforded the luxury to have this option. I thought they might try to go left, right, left in the lineup, which would have kept Mookie at 2 in my, that was sort of my thinking. But Kyle Tucker is in today's baseball, he's a prototypical number 2 type of hitter. A guy who can work counts, but still kind of mash the ball. And a guy who can run a little bit. So, I love him in that spot. And I think Mookie is totally capable of hitting 3rd in this lineup. And I expect him to have probably a significant bounce back from where he started last season, or what the bulk of his season looked like. He was going through a lot of stuff and he never got right physically. He said as much now. He didn't admit it at the time, but, I think we all saw that. Like there's something's not right here. And so, upon that confirmation and knowing that it wasn't just like, hey, he's 33 now, or, last year he was 32. I expect him to look a lot more like the guy we saw in the last 2 months of the season than the guy we saw before that during the summer. I don't know if he's ever back to like MVP levels of Mookie Betts, but all-star levels of Mookie Betts are for sure in play.
Yeah. And I guess it's, definitely not fair to be like, hey, can he be an MVP again? They don't need that in this lineup. I mean, you've got guys, certainly the guy hitting at the top of the lineup is very capable of putting together another MVP season. But to your point, Greg, they just need him to, be a guy who can be productive, who can move guys along. He's certainly going to have opportunities with the 2 guys in front of him, with the guys hitting behind him. Look, when you're protected behind you by by Freddie Freeman and Will Smith and, Teoscar Hernandez and on and so forth and so on.
It'd be nice though. It'd be nice to be able to do something, because Shohei has carried this team for the last 2 seasons, and I don't think that's even really that much of a stretch to say. Without Shohei Ohtani's at bats these last 2 seasons being at the level, the MVP level that he was even before he was pitching, that they wouldn't have got anywhere near they got to without him. Especially 2 years ago when Mookie was hurt and all the different things that were happening. Shohei pushed. I would love for someone to kind of take a little bit of the burden off of Shohei, but that's what this team is built for, is to take the burden off of everybody. So
that's been Rortvet erasure, and I will not stand for it here.
Rortvet. Benny biceps.
Benny biceps, man. Rortvet. Yeah, this lineup obviously is great from top to bottom. A few other things, though, that have sort of worked themselves out. I know they're starting to kind of put together the 40-man roster. Anthony, our pal Jeff Spiegel, said he was sort of surprised, but not really, about Kyle Hurt being there. River Ryan will also start the season in Oklahoma City. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I would imagine we're going to see one or both of those guys probably before the year is out.
Oh, I think you can book it that we're going to see both of those guys at some point, assuming that they remain healthy while they're in the minors. The Kyle Hurt one was a little bit more surprising. I'm with Jeff, not a complete shock, but I thought that he had a better chance to make the opening day roster just because there were some openings in the bullpen. And even though he's coming off the surgery, a couple of things. He was ready to go, according to him. He's ready to pitch at the end of last season. And so that told me that he was healthy and basically could do it. And the second part of it was that there were some other injuries in the bullpen that created some openings for a guy like him, I thought, going into this season. But he's still on that innings limit. It's still Tommy John surgery that he's coming back from. And so we know the Dodgers like to be very, very cautious with these guys, coming off of those major surgeries. So yeah, he's going to get an opportunity, but I think they want to sort of baby his innings and his appearances before that. And it's the same thing with River Ryan. He's looked great during the Cactus League, but it was always, I think, a stretch to think that he would make the opening day rotation, just because I don't think they want to burn all of those bullets so quickly into the season. I think they're going to wait until a little bit later. And maybe when they need him, a guy like him, a little bit more, because he's going to be on a pretty, strict innings limit as well. Like if he gets to, there's no way I think that he gets to 100 innings. So somewhere in the range of 70 to 80, 85, something like that, maybe feels reasonable. And they're going to want to use the bulk of those, when the season matters a little bit more than it does during the first week.
Yeah. Any update? Have we heard any updates on Gavin Stone, other than I know they shut him down a little bit?
Yeah.
2 months. So he's going to probably throw off a mound for the first time. It won't be for at least a month, and then he won't be really fully ready until 2 months, and that will be in AAA. Did you hear something different, Anthony?
No, yeah, same. And I was just going to say, the throwing program is going to start soon, but there's a ramp up process, right? Like just because he started the throwing program doesn't mean he's anywhere close to throwing off a mound, as Greg mentioned.
Yeah. Other thing that's happened since we last talked to you, Anthony, Roki Sasaki made another start. I know we all were sort of commenting on it in the group chat, while at the same time keeping one eye on the World Baseball Classic. But every Roki start feels like a tale of two pitchers, right? Like we get really great Roki, and it's like, hey, things are great and it's progressing. And then there's that 1 or 2 innings where it's almost like he's trying to find home plate by using the force. I hope it's the good Roki that shows up, but at what point do you start to be concerned about Roki Sasaki?
I'm never going to hit the panic button. I said this on our show with Jeff. I'm never going to hit the panic button on Roki this season. They don't need him. He's still, for all intents and purposes, he's still considered a prospect. And so, if he can give them anything this season, it's almost a bonus, I think. He's not the type of prodigy that is going to turn into Paul Skeens immediately, or a guy like that, right? Like it's going to take him some time. And I think everybody knew that when they were chasing him in international free agency. And so with him, I think one of the telling things for me that gave me a little bit of pause over the last couple of days is Dave Roberts was asked, okay, he's going to make the opening day roster. Is he one of your 13 best pitchers? And Dave Roberts' answer to that was, he's going to be on the opening day roster. That was literally his answer to that question. And so that tells me that they understand where they're at with Roki. But I think what this also says is that they're committed to developing him at the major league level. I think that there's a true belief in the organization that he's not going to grow as much and as quickly as they need him to grow in the minor leagues. I think they believe it needs to happen at the major league level. And that means even if he struggles. Now, how long is that leash if he continues to look, if he continues to look terrible, because he hasn't looked terrible. He's just been very up and down, very inconsistent. So if he does look terrible, how long is that leash? 8 starts, something like that, ballpark, give or take. And he's going to have to start to show some improvement, I would say, over the course of April. If he does that, then he's probably going to be solidified as a starter for most of the year.
As Anthony was talking, thinking about all these arms that the Dodgers have access to, a name that we have not mentioned in a while, Greg, is Bobby Miller. And
whoa! You did not tell me we were going to have Bobby Miller conversation.
Look, sometimes this show really is just stream of consciousness, and that was kind of where my brain led me right now. It's like, you're talking about Roki, and in my head I'm thinking, okay, we talked about Gavin Stone and all these other arms here, and I'm like, hey, we haven't talked about Bobby Miller in a while. What becomes of Bobby Miller, Greg? I mean, he's just sort of kind of in purgatory, it feels like right now.
I think he's in purgatory, and it's kind of his own doing. There's a lot going on up here right now that he just can't really figure out. I think they've already said that he's moving to the bullpen, so he's going to be used as a relief arm in the minors. But I don't know if he's ever going to really truly figure it out. Unfortunately, he's still young. I don't know exactly how young he is. So I think he's
26. He'll be 27 in just a little bit.
20. So, look, when you were the number 1 overall prospect on this team, and you're 27 years old now, and you're still not with the major league club, and weren't able to stick with the major league club, it really starts to get to you. And then I hope for good things for Bobby. I don't really see it happen. He's never really been able to find the control. He's never really been able to locate his pitches the way that he would like to and keep guys off balance. It's just, I don't see that happening now. 27 still technically is still young, and he could figure it all out. But I think those days are a little bit behind him. And from what I've understand from people that know people inside the organization, he doesn't really listen to a lot of people. He listens to himself, and he has certain people that he listens to, but other people that are trying to help him is not really his strong suit.
That being said, Anthony, is he somebody they dangle potentially at the trade deadline? Is there still enough there that some other organization would take a chance on a guy like him?
He's a lottery ticket chip at this point. Like, if someone did take that bait and say, okay, yeah, we'll take on Bobby Miller for you. Like, the Dodgers are going to get a lottery ticket type of prospect. They're not going to get anything of significance that can help immediately, unless he's part of a package. But if him as the main piece, then they're not going to give anything of value to the Dodgers, because his stock is as low as it's ever been. Now, I think the hope here is that now that, because last year they kind of moved him up and down from starter to bullpen and just trying to find something, right? Now that his mindset is like, I am a full-time reliever now, maybe something clicks there. We'll see. He looked okay as a reliever for a very short burst, and then it all kind of went downhill again for him. But now that he's in that role full-time, maybe it's something different for him that actually helps him out. But yeah, I think he's essentially done with the big league club. Like, I don't think you'll ever see him in a Los Angeles Dodgers uniform at Dodger Stadium ever again. If you see him in the big leagues, it's probably going to be with another organization. And to the people who think that like Roki is destined for the bullpen, and if he has 2 bad starts this year, it's like throw him in the pen. Bobby Miller is 27. He's been with the organization for however many years he's been, and they've hung on to him until it was absolutely clear after last season that he could not be in the rotation. They're not anywhere close to committing Roki to the bullpen at this point. They're going to give him a very long leash to make it as a starter, because his ceiling, if he ever figures it out as a starter, and basically what he's looking for right now is fastball command for Roki. If he figures that out, his ceiling is like Cy Young potential. And so they're going to put all their chips in that on the table for that, because those kinds of prospects don't come around all the time.
So, Anthony, like I hear what you're saying, but there's also the Dodgers are a different team than, let's say the Orioles or the Royals or just random team X, where they have all these guys that are waiting behind them to get into waiting behind Roki to get into the starting rotation. Justin Robleski, Gavin Stone, River Ryan. I know Stone we talked about is not fully healthy yet, but Gavin Stone, River Ryan, you can even go into Landon Knack, who's still down there. There's always somebody else that's on their way up that's going to be doing it. Jackson Ferris at some point will be coming up. It will take a little while, but there's guys in the pipeline.
Yeah.
How much leash do you give there? Because there's always somebody on this in this pipeline that's ready to go.
Yeah. I think a couple of things. That's assuming that all of those guys are going to hit as long-term, starters and pieces of this rotation, which could be the case. There's obviously a lot of those guys have already shown signs that they could do it. But they're in no rush. Like they have a current rotation and they have the makings of a future rotation. So there is no rush that he needs to be good now. So the leash is going to be long for him. Like if he doesn't figure it out until the middle of 2027 season, it's almost like they're ahead of schedule. They have they're still going to have 4 guys ahead of him that it's almost no matter how good Roki gets. I mean, he'd have to legitimately hit like Paul Skeens, Yamamoto levels of success before he's going to break into that top 4. Like, let's say he actually looks really good this season and he posts an ERA over the course of, let's say, 20 starts of a 3.5, which is pretty good. He's still not in the top 4 when October comes. So that's what I'm saying. The leash for him is long because they don't need him right now. And that's also why I'm not going to hit the panic button on this guy for at least a year.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely all makes sense, right? I think what happens is we've kind of gotten spoiled. We definitely got spoiled by Yamamoto coming over and immediately just hitting the ground running. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's that expectation, especially when a guy with a lot of hype posts in Japan and he comes over that guy's supposed to contribute. Add this to one more reason to the list of why people hate the Dodgers, that they have.
I think there was a misunderstanding with Roki when the Dodgers did sign him too. Like I thought that, and Kim, Ha-Seong Kim kind of had this until I think people that came to a realization quicker. But I think everyone thought like these guys were all-stars immediately. And Roki was always a work in progress. Was always going to be considered a prospect. He was not that dude in Japan. He had the potential to be that dude. And, with Kim, I think if you remember when the Dodgers signed Kim, people lost their minds. I don't know who they thought Ha-Seong Kim was going to be, but they always signed him as like a utility bench guy who had the potential to maybe make it as a starter. So I think we're seeing the makings of that now.
Yeah.
So I mean, the idea was that Buster, I think it was Buster Olney or Jeff Passan, it was somebody on it, was saying that Roki Sasaki could be the best of all of the Japanese pitchers that come over. Like he was being hyped up as the next coming of the next great pitcher, and he could be the greatest pitcher of all time. Is how it was being hyped up. Maybe not in those words, but how it's being hyped up. So I mean, I'm with you. I believe that they're going to get the runway. I think that he needs to look. He's only 24 years old. There's a lot of things that need to go right for him, but. Yeah, I think people are feeling that misconception of what Roki was, or that he was a project, because people weren't making, and reporters we trust, not Evan Drellich, the reporters we trust that were saying that he was the next coming. And I can thank you. I appreciate it. That was it came out of nowhere too.
That's talent.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, and I hear you, Greg, and I think you're right. Like that helped, right, with the hype and everything like that. But I think the caveat was always like, he's not going to be that guy on day one. Now, did we expect it to take until day 369 for us to start to see, pieces of that? Probably not. But I do think that he has shown flashes of brilliance already in the big leagues. I mean, those 3 innings that he pitched against the Phillies in the playoffs were some of the most pressure-packed, impressive innings that we've seen from a Dodger reliever in a long time. And, again, there's been times in this Cactus League where he's looked like, you've seen why people were saying that stuff. Yeah. But you've also seen why, obviously, he's still a work in progress.
Real quick before we get out of here, Anthony, what anything you guys got going on over at Dodger Blue?
Yeah, check out our show from last night over on YouTube, over on wherever you get your podcast. Jeff was on PTO from Dodger Blue last night, so I took over hosting duties. But yeah, you can catch Jeff and I on Tuesdays and Thursdays this season. So we are less than a week away from opening day, man. So we're pumped up for it.
Yeah, man, can't wait. It'd be nice to have actual games to talk about instead of us trying to, manufacture things and that sort of thing. So appreciate it as always, Anthony, jumping up with us on a Friday morning. Appreciate everybody in the chat for hanging out with us as well. Stick around. The Sedano and Cap Morning Extravaganza coming up next with Greg and a cast of you're not going to be there. You're at home.
I
forget all that. You're going to be living it up with Mason and Ireland later on this afternoon, so you can hang out for that in the meantime. That'll do it for this edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. Thanks to Tim for getting us up and on. For Anthony, for Greg, I am Marcus. We'll see you again on Monday, 6:30, 6:55 here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. See ya.
Yeah.